Well, it's good to see the video is working today. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And let's see here. Actually, let me adjust my camera a little bit here. Uh, I guess I wasn't quite ready there. In fact, my little lotus candle burned out on me here. I got to put another candle in. We'll give it a couple minutes here, and another minute or so, and we'll start the meditation. I like my lotus candle. Um, Funny thing is, I was looking to get one online, and Spirit told me not to, and I didn't know why. I'm like, I really like that. I want to get it. Well, turns out we already had one. Laura had one. I didn't even know it. And I all of a sudden one day I came across some. It was hidden somewhere. I'm like, what? We have that? So if we listen, Spirit takes excellent care of us, and everybody has the ears to hear. Um, Only sometimes people don't use those ears because maybe out of fear or because our mind is so busy that we sometimes don't recognize that we're getting the messages that God is speaking with us, and consequently, we just get a little bit blocked from. Let's see here, I gotta adjust my camera a little bit more here. Okay, now I feel better about it. Gotta have everything lined up. Okay, all right, well, I think we're about time here, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining meditation this morning. Grateful to have you here. And it's a really pretty day out there today. It's going to be in the low 70s, sunshine. So we're hoping to get a hike in. Maverick, my son, got his second dose a couple days ago, and has been feeling a bit out of it. So he's feeling better now. So we're hoping, hoping to get our hike in today. So, okay, let's meditate. So just allowing yourself to be completely comfortable in whatever you're sitting or lying on. Really relaxing the body. Just even noticing the body. Notice if you're carrying any stress anywhere. Sometimes we carry it in our shoulders or our chest or maybe our stomach. Just really allowing the body to completely relax. And taking a nice deep breath in and just letting go of any stress, any worries about the future. And worry is simply a fear of the unknown, right? So the more that we can really just have trust and faith that God is leading us in the exact direction that we need to go, the more trust and faith we have with that, the less worry we have, honestly. And I really worry about things so much less. Sometimes to the point where I know people are thinking, this is kind of serious. Why aren't you worried about it? I went through with my mom went through COVID, my sister and my brother-in-law. They've now moved through it. They've been through it maybe a couple weeks they've been done with, maybe 3 weeks, I don't know. But I just was really very at peace with the whole thing, knowing that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. There's not one single hair out of place in the universe. And so I knew that to be true here. I truly didn't know the outcome. Um, what's also becoming more clear to me is that I am creating my own reality. You are creating your own reality. So if there's something that I'm not liking, it's a chance for me to reflect within. Why did my family get COVID? What is, if I'm creating this reality, what is there in there for me? What is it that I need to learn? So if you ever want to help somebody else out, and the Hawaiians have something, I'm probably going to get the name wrong here, but it's something like Ho'oponopono, something like that. Ho'oponopono. Um, and basically, it's looking at others' struggles and stress and their challenges, and looking at it as if it's your own. And that's true. We each get to reflect on the president of the United States that we've created, the pollution that we've created, and ultimately, I know this sounds crazy. Maybe it all sounds crazy, but I don't think it's a new concept that you haven't heard of before, that we each create our own reality. But from a mental perspective, the mind says, come on, give me a frickin' break. We can't, you know, determine all these things. And hang on just a second. So the mind tries to say that there's no way we can create that. Why does the mind say that? The mind says that because it's not logical. And the mind functions from logic. The mind functions from its own inner belief system. And so, when we hear something, when somebody talk about miracles, miracles are called miracles because it seems like an impossibility. Well, who does it seem like an impossibility to? You or your mind? Because the true you, when you move beyond and transcend the mind, you transcend the body, you also transcend all the limited thoughts and beliefs of the mind, and you open the door to all things being possible. That's why Jesus said, hey, look, you can do all the things that I've done and even more. You can do greater things than I've shown you. It's not that you can do more than Jesus. You can do more things than he has shown you. The greater things that I have done. And he healed the blind, he walked on water, he raised the dead. And there's been many others who have raised the dead, even in the Bible. The Apostle Paul also raised the dead. Yogananda speaks of it in his book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. This is nothing new. Why is it a miracle, though? It's a miracle because the mind can't believe it. Logically, it doesn't make sense. And some may agree with my choice, some may not agree with my choice, but I've had people push back on me because I've chosen not to get the vaccination. It's not because, whoops, hang on just a second. I keep getting tapped by spirit here. Well, now I've kind of put it out there. Let me let me just get my stuff out of the way and do my best to get my person out of the way and let spirit speak through. Let the Holy Spirit come through. Whether one chooses to get the vaccination or not, ultimately it's about being aware of the choice, no matter what the choice is. Being aware of your judgments of others, that they shouldn't have got it or they should have gotten it. Being aware of those. Being aware if you do get it, being mindful if you have fears of getting it. If you don't get it, being mindful and aware of not getting it if there's fears there. It's really just about, more than anything, it's about the awareness of your choice. And that's really what it comes down to for really everything. So it's not about a choice being good or bad, right or wrong. That's all of the mind and the duality of the mind. It's really about being present and aware if judgment or fears pop up out of our choice. And then when those judgments or fears do pop up and we're being present with it, aware of it, when they move through, then we come to a place of peace, no matter what our choice was. And it may be that we see, oh, okay, I see that, I should have gotten a vaccine, or yeah, maybe I shouldn't have. I don't even know if that's the case, but what I will say is that it provides clarity. When you move through your fears, when you move through your blame, when you move through your judgment, clarity shows up, truth shows up. And just because it's right for one person doesn't mean it's necessarily right for another. Everyone has their own path. My judgment is it's good for people to get the vaccination. That's my judgment. And yet it feels right for me to not do this because of just my, yeah, again, I think I'll just stay away from that. It just feels right for me to not do that. And if you have judgment about that, that's okay. I just invite you to notice and be aware of that. So I've had people push back on me about that, and that's okay. That's for them to work through, and it's okay that they judge me on it. Um, my my um, my experience gets to be simply noticing that other people have judgment about that, and can I be at peace with that? Because there's a part of me that doesn't want to be judged for it. This is my choice. Let me make my choice. That's just all more ego. Ultimately, I have to be at peace with people judging me for anything. I had an experience where someone ended up saying something to me that really, they were really in such judgment of my choice. It wasn't about the vaccine. I'm not going to share what it was, just in case somebody listens to the video. I don't want anyone to feel incriminated by this, or I don't know if that's the right word, or judged or blamed. So it's somebody close to me, they judge me, and really, normally in the past, I would have called them up, or anyone close to me would have called them up and say, hey, can we have a conversation about this? Can we clean this up? I don't want to get this to get in the way of our relationship. But actually, for me, I made a choice that I normally don't make, which I'm very happy with. And that is, I made the choice to just let them be with their judgment. It's not for me to fix or change them in any way. But what's also true is, can I sit and can I be with their judgment of me? If I can't, it might behoove me to have a conversation with them so that I can just say, hey, I'm feeling hurt or this and that. And that can be a beautiful way to move things through. What's also true, if we can just recognize that it's just our mind being busy and our person who doesn't want to be judged, not the truth of who we are. The truth of who we are, like I said, um, can never be attacked or diminished in any way. Only the idea of who you think you are can be attacked or diminished. Your person, this thing we call the person, this all these stories and ideas of who we think we are. And so, right now, I just invite you to let go of all those stories of who you think you are, all those stories that you've accumulated of who you are supposed to be, how you are supposed to be, how others are supposed to be, how the world is supposed to be. This is all just a bunch of mental nonsense, to be honest with you. It's just a bunch of mental nonsense. I've shared this in the past, quite some time ago. There is a book called the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, which was written, I always get this mixed up. I believe it was written 5,000 years ago. Many sages believe this to be the greatest scripture, the greatest writings as to teaching us about awakening. And so there have been many sages, including my teacher, who have taken this and interpreted this book so that you can have an understanding, a grasp of what Patanjali was speaking about. Because, like so many teachings, A Course in Miracles, of the Yoga Sutras, a lot of these books have there's such depth and wisdom behind them, but might not recognize how to fully interpret and understand what's being shared. So you see a lot of people interpreting them so that you can have a deeper understanding of what is actually being shared. And I'll say the same thing about the Bible in many ways. You have priests, preachers, ministers, all these different Christian religions, all giving their take on what is meant by it. And consequently, um, there has been some good, but there has also been much damage that has happened by the interpretation of the Bible, because people are injecting their own opinions, their own personality in what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to show up in the world. All these labels and descriptions of what they think the truth is. But the truth will never be because of what we think it is. The truth is beyond the mental mind. And that's why it's so important to transcend the mind so that we can reconnect with the innocence and the freedom of who we are. And that truth flows out of the ethers, out of God, as an expression of as to who we are, and this wisdom and this intelligence flows from a place that is beyond the mind and beyond the body, because the mind and the body are temporary. We have to find a deeper truth that is beyond any thoughts, any feelings, any perceptions, or any actions that we take. It's from the stillness and the silence of who you are. So we spend all this time trying to interpret these things. I'm not going to share that the path that I have chosen is the best path for you or not. It's simply my path. My path has been to continue to meditate, to continue to let go of who I am not. And when the more I let go of who I am not, who I am is revealed. And who I am, when it's revealed, I find that there is a deeper grasp of what truth is, because ultimately you are the truth. I am the truth. God is the truth. And our reuniting with the stillness and the emptiness of who we are, not out of opinion or self righteousness or who we think we are, but beyond those things, we return to that stillness, that silence, that innocence that we have always been. And from that innocence, truth can arise out of that. Freedom arises out of that. A pure humility and awareness and wisdom and true intelligence arises out of that. So, yes, we talk about knowing who we are. I invite you, even everything that I've shared with you, everything that you've learned, every book that you have read, everything that you've been taught by even the gurus, I invite you to let go of all of it. Because by letting go of it, the mind says, well, if I let go of it, then I'm letting go of everything that I've learned and gained, and to become who I am. The only thing that you can lose is the false identification as to who you are, because the one thing you can never lose is the truth of who you are. And when you are so empty, even beyond knowledge, beyond intelligence, beyond memories, beyond experience, when you are so empty, it's in that emptiness, that nothingness, that wisdom and intelligence arises from, God arises from. I don't even want to say God arises from, because you are one with that experience. You are one with God in that, because there's nothing left except for you and your oneness with creation, with God, with life itself. So, yes, I do invite you to let go of everything that you've ever learned, all these things that you say that you are, all these things that you think you're supposed to be. And when you let go of these things, you will find that wisdom is your nature, peace is your nature, the true intelligence is your nature. Not because of all these things that you've stored and learned along the way, but because you recognize that everything that you need will be provided when you need it. The intelligence, the wisdom, the memories, all those things will all of a sudden present themselves to you out of the ethers, out of the oneness with God. It will present itself when it needs to, not because you've learned it or stored it. You are that. You can't get rid of that. That connection and that oneness with everything that is all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. I always have a hard time with that word. And as always, I'm not asking you to believe anything that I share. Nothing. I'm not trying to persuade you or convince you of anything. I'm simply offering that, at least for this meditation, that you empty out so completely that the only thing that remains is the pure emptiness, stillness, silence, the pure beauty and beingness and isness of who you are. That pure beingness has nothing to do with what you have done or what you will ever do or any doingness whatsoever. You are a witness to the doingness. You are a witness to the mind and the thoughts. You are a witness to the feelings. You are a witness to all the perceptions because we each filter through our own perceptions. And why do we filter through our own perceptions? Because we have bought into something along the way that we have purchased to say, this is true. And then God comes along and life comes along and we're feeling a little bit slapped around sometimes, but God is not slapping us around. God is simply providing experiences to you to help you to see that you have latched onto some kind of belief that is not true. And so God comes along and gives you this experience and you're feeling challenged. You're feeling and the mind says, I don't like this. I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying life. I want to be at peace. I want to be in joy. I want to be with God and want because the mind is not happy with the situation that God has provided because there is something you are hooked into, something you're identifying with as the truth of who you are. And God is simply giving you an experience to help you to shift out of that belief. That's all. And we feel picked on. I have felt picked on. I have cried and I have played the role of victim so many times, so long, crying, God, please help me, get me out of this situation. I laugh about it because it is funny to me now, and yet I recognize that there may be some that are still having this experience. That you feel picked on. You feel that inundated with all these challenges. And what's also true is God never gives you more than what you need. God gives you exactly what you need at all times. And again, you don't have to believe me on that, but the more you explore with that possibility, then you can see for yourself as to whether you can have trust and faith in everything that God does for you. And a lot of people just taking COVID, a lot of people feel overwhelmed. They've lost their jobs, they've lost their social networking, they've lost their hugs, they've lost maybe income, they've lost they've lost to see a smile on somebody's face because we're wearing the mask, and they've lost the freedom to just breathe freely. And yet, God has brought this experience to each of us as to this beautiful and grand awakening. To see that ultimately, you don't have to have a hug in order to experience the love and truth of who you are. When you are rooted in the truth of who you are, you have all the love that you need, all of it. Because you are not separate from God. You are one with God. And in that oneness, you have all the love you need. You have all the peace you need. You have all the joy you need. Don't believe me. I'm just inviting you to see things differently so that you can let go of all this garbage and nonsense that you've carried that we've called the person. All these beliefs that you have accumulated along the way, I'm inviting you to let go of those so that you can see that there is not one single thing that COVID has offered that cannot be of peace, that cannot be of joy, that cannot be of just the simple love and truth of who you are. And I can honestly say COVID's been so freaking good to me. I'm leading my meditations. I lost my job and I was provided for through unemployment. I'm teaching my meditations and doing my speaking. I'm doing what I love to do. And I'm just riding this wave of how God is taking care of me. And at times it's brought up my fears. Because there's something that I believe that at times that the virus was bigger than me and bigger than God. That is a lie. That's a lie. And remember, I use this over and over from A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And therein lies the peace of God. Anything physical that you can be aware of, anything mental that you can be aware of, anything emotional that you can be aware of is not real. You are simply a witness to all of those things. And as the witness, there is peace with all of it. The mind says, this virus, man, it's screwing with my life. It's messing my life up. Can you notice and be aware of that thought? I just want to hug somebody. I need a hug. Can you simply be aware of that thought? Because something has identified with it as the truth and is blocking you from really being the love that you already are. Yeah, but now I've lost my job. Can you simply notice that thought as if that is a bad thing because when one door opens, one door closes, another one opens? Yeah, but I've lost loved ones in my life, Brett. You don't know what I've gone through with COVID. I don't know. I can't pretend to know what God knows. I can't pretend to understand what God has bringing us. I can only share my experience and my truth. And my experience and my truth has shown me that God is on my side. And there's not one single moment that goes by that that's not true. And yes, I lost somebody last week. I've had family that have gone through COVID. I've had friends, many friends that have gone through it. And I see that there is this beautiful awakening happening because we have had this fear thrown right in our face. Because why? Because is God picking on us with us? No, God is saying, please look at this. I'm giving you this experience because there's things that you are holding on to that you no longer need to hold on to as the truth of who you are. You don't need to hold on to this belief that you have to have a hug in order to be at peace and joy and in love. You don't need to hold on to this belief that this virus is bigger than you or God. You don't need to hold on to this belief that somehow it's created separation because you can never be separate from yourself or from God. That is an illusion. And I'm inviting you to let go of that illusion right now. You don't need to move one single inch to get to God, not one single atom. You are that. You are one with that. You don't need to move one single foot or travel someplace or hike a mountain to get home, return home to who you have always been and who you will always be. You don't have to move one single inch, not one single iota. And I don't even know what an iota is. I just know that there's no movement required to be who you already are. The only thing that's required is to let go of all these old beliefs and stories that block you from recognizing that truth right now in this very moment. And I held back a little bit there because the words that came through for me that I will say, and some may be offended, but these are the words that come through. You don't have to wait one fucking moment. Not one fucking moment. You are here. You cannot escape you. You cannot escape God. It's like a fish swimming through the water, looking for the water. Where is the water? Where is the water? And the water's all around him. It's just that it's gotten so used to it, it doesn't recognize it. And that is you. God is you, is me, is everything, is everywhere. And you cannot escape that. And what's also true is God is the nothingness. It's a paradox. It's a paradox. You are aware of everything and you are aware of nothing, of the nothingness of who you are. The world as we see it, everything that is manifest as physical form is all this perfect orchestration to provide the perfect reality that is needed for you to see the reflection of who you are not and who you are. Jesus is a reflection of who you are. Muji is a reflection of who you are. And I am a reflection of you. You are a reflection of me. Everything is reflecting back some things that we judge as good and some things that we judge as bad. But it is all ours. And the more you can take 100% ownership of this is the reality that I create, I am 100% responsible for all of it, then you begin to see that there is nothing that you cannot fix or change. But I say that the truth of who you are, there's nothing to fix or change. And yet, it's okay to fix and change things when God is expressing itself through us that provides a healing for our reality, our person, so that our reality and our person can merge back into the oneness with who we are. So, right now, I'm just inviting you to become conscious and aware of this moment. You exist. How do you know that you exist? How do you know that you exist? You say, I'm here. I can tell that I'm here. Who can tell that you're here? Is it your body? Is it your thoughts? Is it your feelings? Is it your experiences or Or is it your five senses? None of those things can tell that you exist, except for the truth of who you are recognizes that you exist. That is the awareness, the conscious awareness of who you are. And you are aware of all of those things, but they are not aware of you. And it doesn't take one more piece of knowledge to recognize that. You can read another 100 books, and it's okay. It's okay to read books. It's okay. But I'm just, and because a true teacher, the Eckhart Tolles, the Mujis, they'll write books that challenge the way you think, that challenge the beliefs that you're holding on to. But it won't be because they're adding more knowledge to you. It will be because they're inviting you to let go of the knowledge and let go of the things that you have learned. A lot of times this song pops in my head by CeeLo called Crazy. Um, and you'll be delighted to know that I'm going to attempt singing it for you right now. So if you want to mute your device, feel free to do so. Uh, you think I'm crazy. I think you're crazy. What he says in that song, I'm just giving you a little dose of what that song is. People think I'm crazy, but I think you're crazy. You think. Let's see. It's. I need to tap in a little bit. I'm trying to use my mind memory, and I need to just let that go. You think you're not enough, but the truth is, it's not because you didn't know enough, you actually knew too much. It's not because you didn't know enough, you knew too much. What is CeeLo saying? He's saying you knew too much because all these things that you think are the truth are the very things that's getting in the way of the truth. You think you know the truth, but all these things, this isn't the song, this is me interpreting the song. You think you didn't know enough, but you actually knew too much. And that too much is the person, the ego that has accumulated these stories and beliefs to say, this is the truth. And it's those very things that I'm inviting you to let go of right now. Because the danger isn't knowing enough, the danger is knowing too much, where your ego is so steeped and your glass is so full that there's no room. There's no room for learning the truth of who you are. I'm inviting you to empty out that cup. Just empty it out of everything that you think you know who you are, or that you say, I know who I am, especially that, letting that go, emptying that cup out, so that you can return home to who you are. And you may be confused at first. That is beautiful because confusion means that you have let go of some idea of who you think you are and you've made room for who you are. Words aren't enough to say that you are whole and you are complete and that you are perfect exactly the way you are. It is true. It is true, and I'll share that with your person. But right now, as I say, even share that with your person, I want to recognize the emptiness and the nothingness of who I am. And I want to speak to you as that truth. To not see you as another body or another form because you are not that. To not see you as a person because you are not that. To not see you as good or bad because you are not that. To not see you as anything physical, anything mental, anything emotional, but to see that you are beyond that. It is the Matrix, when Neo discovers in the movie The Matrix, where all of a sudden he stops seeing the people, the machines, and he simply sees the emptiness of it all, the energy behind it all. And that is you, the one who is a witness. You are Neo, the one who transcends the minds and the limitations of the mind. And he begins to fly, and he comes back from the dead, and he begins to do things that nobody else thinks is possible. Why? Because they're so steeped in what they think they know the truth is, that they can't see that miracles are abundant, because that's the natural state of who we are. As the awakened truth of who you are, it's not, the word miracle is not even needed. Because when you bilocate to visit more than one person at a time, it's not because it's a miracle, it's because you've let go of the limiting belief that that's possible. I studied with Dennis Adams, who studied with Nassau, was studying him because he was able to walk through walls and other. I got another tap on that. So I've already said it. I'm not trying to persuade you or convince you of any of this. I'm just sharing with you that when you recognize that you are not your body, that you are not your mind, that you are not your person, you open the door to all things being possible. Let us leave it at that. So right now, don't see me as a body. Don't see anybody else here as a body or a mind or a person. I invite you to look beyond that, because when you can see that I am beyond that, then you can see that for yourself. Don't look at Jesus as something physical. That's the reason he can be all places at all times, the same as you. You can do all things I have done and greater things. Don't see the Buddha as a body. Don't see Eckhart Tolle as a body, or Muji. Don't see yourself as a body, or your spouse or your kids or your family or friends. Practice seeing the truth of who you are, and everyone is a reflection of that, and it is beyond anything physical. And the more I practice that, the more I can begin to recognize it for myself. So I invite you right now just to come back to the stillness, silence. If you want to use the breath, you can. There's no doingness required here. There's no effort required. There's no effort required. It doesn't require effort for you to be aware of my voice. It doesn't require effort to be aware of your breath. It doesn't require effort to be aware of the stillness or the silence. It doesn't require effort to be aware of your thoughts or your feelings or your perceptions or your actions. You are simply the one being aware of it, and that does not require effort. The truth of who you are is a non functioning self, meaning there's no effort. There's no doingness, there's no thinking, there's no feeling. You are simply the witness of all of those things. And so if the mind begins to get busy, let it get busy. It's not your fight. It literally is not your fight. And there might be, as the day goes by, there might be something, that an experience that happens, that life, God is giving you some kind of experience that pushes your buttons, and you say, I'm pissed, I'm angry right now. And as soon as you can step back, take a step back, and be a witness to that thought, a witness to that feeling, without making it bad or wrong, you can still be in the peace and truth of who you are. Peace is always, always, always possible. Not when you approach it from the mind or the person, though. You might have a temporary state of peace. You might have a temporary state of joy. You might have the temporary state of love, but it is never, ever sustaining because the mind always wants more. It always says, what's next? What do I need to heal next? What else is broken about me? What else needs fixing? The mind will always tell you this until you recognize that you are not that. You are the one witnessing that. That's why in the Christian tradition, a lot of times they talk about the devil. I don't disagree with that approach. It's fine. And for some people, they see that this voice that speaks in their head, they call it the devil, demonic. You know, it's really not it's really not wrong. It's just the mind being busy is the approach that I use. Whether you say the devil or the mind being busy, either one is perfect. The problem I have with using the word devil is that a lot of times it conjures up fear. If you can use the word and recognize that it's not true, that nothing unreal exists, that this is too is just another illusion, great, great. Just notice it. Oh, okay. There's the voice of the devil. There's the voice of the mind. It doesn't matter. Nothing real can be threatened. The truth of who you are, which is nothing physical. So there's nothing physical that anything dark can hurt you with. There's nothing, in fact, there's nothing anyone can do to you. They might kill your body. Somebody could come up and stab you. It might sound a little dark right now, but maybe your body leaves, but you still are there. Nobody can attack or diminish the truth of who you are. And a lot of teachers, awakened teachers, will say that sometimes you have to die before you can live. Let go of your fear of death. Sometimes some people get so caught up on avoiding death that they never truly live. And that's why I love, for me, giving my life in its entirety over to God, even my body. God, if you want me to die, then so be it. And the more I just give that over to God, I find that I have less and less fear all the time. And for me, even saying, God, if you want me to have the virus, then I trust that it is of thy will. It's not that I'm inviting it in. I'm not inviting darkness in. I'm not inviting anything so called bad in. But I'm also not avoiding it. I'm saying because what we judge is bad is of the mind. And if something so called bad does happen, it's because we have some fear about that. That is the only way we can judge it as bad, is if we have a fear about it. Because if there's no fear about it, if you're not afraid of dying and you lose your body, then there's nothing you could judge as bad happening. You see it for what it is. That is, that God has decided, has made this choice to see that the greatest thing on your path now is to shed this body and to move on to a new experience. That new experience, you are still there, which is the one who is aware. And that awareness does not require anything physical whatsoever. So, yes, these so-called evil forces can do something to your body or do something to your physical mind, but they can never, ever, ever do something to the truth of who you are. Never. The truth of who you are can never be attacked or diminished. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Well, Some might say that that was a bit of a dark path to go on for meditation, but it's only dark if our mind and our person interpret it as that way. It's actually perfect and beautiful that we can let go of this so called darkness having any reign over us whatsoever. It has no control over us whatsoever, the truth of who you are, nor does the virus, nor does anything, the economic injustice or the climate change. All these things are simply here for us to awaken. We can be at peace with any of it or all of it because it can never destroy the truth of who you are. So, right now, I just invite you once again to just come back to the silence and the stillness of who you are. Just set the mind to the side right now. You don't need to listen or even give the thoughts any power whatsoever. It's just a thought and it means absolutely nothing. It's just a cloud passing by. You are the sky, you are the emptiness. You don't need to be drawn in by the cloud. And you may notice the shape of the cloud. You may notice that some clouds are darker than others. It's still just a cloud and it's still not who you are. And even in the darkest of skies, the sky is still there, is it not? Just because the cloud is there doesn't mean the sky, the emptiness of the sky has gone away. That's the truth of you as well. Darkness may come, challenges may come, this so called darkness, I would say, but the emptiness and truth of who you are is always here. Your essence is always rooted in the natural peace, joy, and love that you are. Again, I don't want to add labels to this, inviting you to let go of who you are not so that you may experience this truth for yourself. So let's just bathe in the emptiness and stillness right now as the witness to all of it. And if you've drifted off with your mind, simply notice that. Allow any and all thoughts to just gently and effortlessly pass on by, just like a cloud passing by, and come back to the present moment. Come back to the stillness and silence and truth of who you are, is the one witnessing all of it. coming back to the present moment. I think we're going to actually bring the meditation. It's about an hour, so we'll bring the meditation to completion. If you'd like to continue more, meditating more, please mute or turn your device off. And thank you for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for those of you who are ready to finish, just taking in a nice deep breath. Just energizing this body, making sure you're rooted and grounded in this physical form, and maybe moving around, stretching it. And taking your time and just opening your eyes whenever you're ready. And let's see here. And I'm going to go over to Facebook. If anybody would like to make any comments, feel free to do so. Enjoy your fearless weekend. Okay, will do. Michelle, thanks. Have a beautiful weekend, my friend. If anybody's interested, I will be speaking at the Unity of Grand Rapids online tomorrow for Zoom. And I believe they usually try to stream on Facebook Live as well. So there's that. And other than that, that's about it. If anyone else wants to say hi, they can. And got the thumbs up on that. So that's about it. So there's nobody on YouTube. I think Sandy might have been on there earlier. But all right, you guys have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Okay, namaste, my friends.